So, what we are going to talk about today is general equilibrium. So, the concept of general equilibrium comes from the fact that there is always a limited amount of goods in the economy that needs to be needs to be disputed among the total number of people present in the economy. So, the whole concept of general equilibrium and related topics focuses on how to allocate these scarce resources between the different parts of the population. So, uh, for example, let's take an example. Let's say that uh, wait 1 second. Let me do one thing. Extended this display and with changes. I'll shift this to this one right here, and then we can what we can do is choose the one node and yeah, yeah okay. So uh, let's say we have 10 units of good X and 10 units of good Y. So this is our total availability of goods. Now we have to allocate this total uh, amount of good X and Y between, let's say, n people. N can be anything from 1 to dot, 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 let's say 10. So we have to allocate this 10 units of X and 10 units of Y between 10 people in such a way that uh, everyone is satisfied with the allocation given their preferences. Uh, so yeah, uh, now then individuals here will have may have same preferences, may have different preferences. That depends on each individual, and even the individuals are unaware of what the preferences are exactly. So yeah, so this is our concept of general equilibrium. To be honest, we have to allocate resources. What allocate? How to erase this? Allocate. Yeah, okay. So allocate resources among individuals. The most simple concept of general equilibrium comes from the Edgeworth, Edgeworth, the one that Edgeworth suggested, which states that uh, if we have a box, let's take a box, let's take a box, say this is our box, and this is X, individual X, this is individual Y. Or now let's say this is individual 1, this is individual 1, and this is individual 2. So let's let this side uh, let this side uh, show the amount of X, and this set shows the amount of y of individual one and x of individual one. Similarly, this side shows x for individual two, and this side shows x, y for individual two. So in our example, we took 10 units of x and 10 units of y. So let's the total uh, amount of x present in this economy. Let's say this is a 2x2 economy, two commodity, two-person economy. So the total amount of x or the total endowment of x is equal to 10 or x1 plus x2 equals 10 and y is again equals to 10. Y1 plus y2 is equals to 10. So these are constraints. These are constraints in our economy where it states that x1 plus x2 should be equal to or should be less than equal to 10. Similarly, y1 plus y2 should be less than equal to 10. So an allocation can be anywhere. Let's say an allocation can be here where individual x has, let's say, 8 amount of x and 2 units of y. And so individual 2 has 2 units of x and 8 units of y. So this is an allocation. Similarly, an allocation can be anywhere in this graph. So an allocation can be anywhere in here. So দেখছিলাম বারবার করে নি পুরো পরে করবো আবার না আছে না তো that was my roommate. So let's bring it here again. So where were we? So yeah, an location can be anywhere in this edgewood box. This is called an edgewood box. An edgewood box. So an allocation can be anywhere in this edgewood box. So as you can see, any allocation outside this edgewood box is not feasible actually because why is it not feasible? Because it exceeds the total amount of goods available. And edgewood box here, an allocation here has y1 plus y2 less than 10, but x1 plus x2 is 10. So you can see why these are really uh, simple ideas, uh, as you can see. So this is not actually a problem, but nothing is actually a problem. But our understanding then goes to so this is the idea of age with works initial and low momentum. everything. So now we have to enter uh, the concept of the concept which is the main idea behind uh, this. So we know we told at the beginning of the lecture that uh, there are preferences of each individual, and each individual has their own preferences, and they act according to their preferences. So, well, in this we saw that there's this allocation, and there's this allocation, there's this allocation, and this allocation. But what allocation is the equilibrium in the economy, which makes every individual better off, at least doesn't make any individual worse off. So all those allocations which make, or let's say, all those allocations in the economy, which actually we can explore that concept later. So first let's establish the concept of preferences. So let's say individual one has utility function u1 is equals to, let's take a copy Douglas utility function xy x1 y1, and let's say individual 2 has a utility function uh, x2 y2. So we know that these preferences are convex, and how the ICs will look like. The ICs of individual 1 will look like this, 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 like that. And the ICs of individual 2, let's take another color here. Individual 2 will look like this, 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 this. That was a pretty bad try. So you have to, you have to, you have to pardon my drawing actually, because I'm drawing the mouse. So yeah, these are individual ones. These are blue ones are individual ones. Blue is equals to IC of individual two, and uh, red is equal to IC of individual one. So uh, these are the ICs of individual one and two, and yeah. So this shows the preferences of individual one and two respectively, and it shows that the more of good eggs individual two has, the better off he is, because the preference goes this way. Okay, preference goes this way, and the more of y the individual two has is better off, and more of good x individual one has is better off, and more of good y individual two has individual one has he's better off. So this is the concept we are aware of. So this in this Edgeworth box is what is this is the basis. Uh, this is the basis which will help us understand how we attain a general equilibrium. So yeah. So now let's say we have an allocation. Say okay. First let us establish the concept of Pareto optimal. So what is Pareto optimal? So Pareto optimality is uh, for for so Pareto optimality. It's a state. It is a state. It is a state. Let's say in an economy. It is a state in an economy from which uh, one cannot be better off without making someone else worse off. So this is the definition of Pareto optimal. So what does it mean actually? So let's say we have a Pareto optimal allocation, let's say here. So let this be a point. Okay, so let this be a point, and uh, let this be a point, and this be an IC of an individual one. Uh, Now at this point, individual one is at, let's say, IC dash, IC one dash, and individual two is at IC two dash. Okay, so every individual is in their ICs, and this point is a feasible point. It's a feasible allocation because x1 and x1 plus x2 is less than 10 and y1 plus y2 is less than 10 as well. So less than and equal to 10 as well. So this is a feasible allocation. So how do we tell that a feasible allocation is a Pareto optimum allocation? Uh, so how did we define Pareto optimality? It is a state in an economy from which uh, sorry, from which if one moves, uh, if one diverges from a point which is Pareto optimal, he cannot be better off without making someone else worse off. So uh, the point we took here, uh, this point, can you find a point uh, where person A can attain higher level of utility? Person A can attain higher level of utility as well as person B can, as well as person B, yeah, as well as person B. So can both of them can they attain higher level of utility, or maybe one can attain higher level of utility and other remains at the same utility level. Can you find a allocation uh, if they are at A? Let's say if they are at, well, you cannot find an allocation like that because if individual one moves to a higher IC, let's say here at this IC, individual two is attaining a utility level that is lower than the one he is already in. So you cannot. mm, So individual two is obviously worse off than he was. Uh, so the idea of better off and worse off is it's really just uh, basic. The basic meanings of better off and worse off. Better off means if Given a situation you are already in, if something new happens, does it add value to you, or does it add misery to your life, kind of? So if it adds some value to your life, then you are better off. If it adds misery to your life, then you are worse off. And if it doesn't change the state you are in, then you are indifferent. So yeah, this is what this is actually. So if individual one moves from point A to point say B, then he obviously individual one is better off because he is attending a higher utility level. But individual two is worse off because he is attaining a lower utility level. Individual one is attaining a higher utility level. So I see one dash is less than I see one double dash, but I see two dash is greater than I see two double dash. I see attains the I see is just equal to utility. We'll say that I see this defines utility. I see equals to utility. It doesn't actually, but we will say it does. Yeah, so where were we? So yeah. So let's now take another point. Let's now take a point. Let's take a new color. Let's take the color uh, violet. So let's take a point here, this point, a point C. So let's say that the individuals are at point C right now, at the beginning. So now, if any uh, okay, so this establishes this tells us about the concept of Pareto uh, optimality, because you cannot make an individual better off without making another individual worse off. So yeah. So now let's define a point which is not Pareto optimal. So let's say we have this as a box, and let's say we have individual one and individual two. These are individual. Can I draw curves with those lines? Top triangle, snap the grid. So let's make myself a little bigger. So where were we? So yeah, so this is individual ones, this is individual, this is y1, this is x1, this is x2, and this is y2. So now let this be in, let's take bigger, let's this individual, this individual ones ICs, and this, let's take green. So let this be individual groups, individual groups. So let's now take let economic be uh, at this point. At this point, so is a Pareto optimal point? Do you think A is a Pareto optimal point? No, A is not a Pareto optimal point because we can move to a point, uh, say here. Let's say we move to a point B. We can make A better off. We can make individual one better off. Okay, individual one goes to higher IC, and we are not making individual two worse off. Obviously, individual two remains on his IC. His IC individual two dash. It remains on IC2 dash, but individual one moves from IC1 dash to IC1 double dash. So individual one's usability obviously increased and individual two's usability remained same. So A is not adopted. Obviously. This is A is not to optimal. You understand why, right? It's because let's see what are the mathematical notations for the parrot optimality. There are a lot of mathematical notations for feasible allocations. For x1, x2 to xn, there are different Pareto, there are different notations for feasible allocations as the other stuff. So this is obviously not the Pareto optimal point. Uh, this is a Pareto optimal point, obviously, because then again, cannot move to a higher IC without making individual two worse off. So let's remove this thing. Actually, let's is not that optimal. Let's erase. Let's not remove. Let's erase B, B, this, this, this. So let's keep this. And now let's see where I take. Now comes the concept of Pareto superior. Uh, so what is Pareto superior? Pareto superior is any point which gives higher utility to both the individuals, or in our case both. We took a two-person economy, but if we consider n-person economy, then it gives higher utility to all n individuals than uh, than they have right now, the utility level they are in right now. A parallel superior point will give higher utility to all the individuals, uh, given the endowment, obviously, given the endowment A, uh, given the endowment A point. A point is Pareto superior if it gives higher utility to both individuals, or if it gives higher utility to at least one individual and does not reduce the utility of the other individual. So given an endowment. So uh, can you tell me how which points are Pareto superior here? Given a which points are Pareto superior to? So any point in this region is Pareto superior to it. Why? Because as I have already mentioned that IC2 is this, IC1 IC1 is this, obviously I have mentioned. IC2 is this. So any point here will obviously make individual 2 better off because he is obviously moving to an higher IC, attaining high levels of utility. And individual 2 is, what did I say? Individual 2. So then individual 1, the argument that individual 1 is also being better off. Individual 1 is moving in this direction, individual 2 is moving in this direction. So they are both better off in this region, and any point on the boundaries of this region. What the? So, so the Pareto to superior set is this region. We can obviously know this mathematically, but yeah, it's critical to understand the concept first. Then if you understand the concept, then you can obviously show them mathematically. So this is the set of Pareto superior points. 2A. Always remember a Pareto superior point is always given an endowment. So if the endowment was this, A dash, then the Pareto superior set would have been this whole set points. And then again if this, you understand the concept. Yeah, let's not go back. So you understand the concept of Pareto superiority. Uh, the concept of Pareto inferiority, there does not exist a proper definition for Pareto inferiority. It tells us that it makes both the individuals worse off. Yeah. So if we tell that Pareto inferiority means that it makes both the individuals worse off. So any point you can say that any point is Pareto inferior. Let's take another color. Let's take the color dark green. So any point which is Pareto inferior to A dash is a point here maybe because if this, so let's send the ICs of individual 2 and individual 1, then any point uh, 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 of any point here in this region, any point, no, let's make our own. Oh, no, no, no. So, yeah. So, let, I need to, I have to remember that I can erase stuff, not use Control or C at the time. So, any point in this region is not on the boundaries, not on the boundaries, but any point inside the boundary is Pareto inferior because any point here, let's say point C, is below IC of individual A, individual 1, and it is below the IC of individual 2 as well. So at this point is parallel inferior. So any point in this region will be parallel inferior. So you have understood the concept of Pareto superiority and Pareto inferiority and the Edgeworth box and the Pareto optimality. So let's go a little bit further and we'll end our first lecture. So let's take uh, an Edgeworth box like this. Okay, this individual one, this is individual two. So now we will establish the concept of contract curves. So what is a contract curve? A contract curve, uh, contract curve is the let me remember the word. The contract curve. I'm forgetting a very basic word which I'm unable to remember. So let's see. Yeah, we can say this as well. So it is it's a set of all Pareto optimal allocation. So a contract curve is a set of all Pareto optimal allocations. So how did we establish the idea of Pareto optimality? We saw that a point is Pareto optimal if wow, okay. So point is Pareto optimal if you cannot make an individual better off without making other at least one other individual without making someone else worse off. Let's say that. So let's draw individual ones I see for one last time in this lecture. Individual ones I see uh, this, 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 and individual two I see this, like this, like this. I'm actually uh, doing a thing purposefully uh, to make another point. Yeah. So in this point, this allocation A is parent optimal, isn't it? Because you cannot make with the same logic, you cannot make some individual one better off without making individual two worse off. Similarly, this point B is parent optimal. This point C is parent optimal. Same argument. This point D is parent optimal. E and so and so. So like this, we will get to a point. So what is this point? This point is 0, 0 for individual 1 and 10, 10 for individual 2, isn't it? Because individual 1 has 0 of y and 0 of x is here, and individual 2 has 10 units of y because obviously you need to uh, fulfill the whole uh, So you need to exhaust the whole capacity in the economy. So yeah, so this is a Pareto optimal allocation because given our remember our utility function, we have a Cobb-Douglas utility function. We have a Cobb-Douglas utility function. Given our utility function, uh, this is a Pareto optimal allocation because what is our utility function? Utility of one is equals to x1 y1, and utility of two is equals to x2 y2. So if individual one has 0, 0, then its utility is just 0. It's just 0. Individual 2 has 10, 10, its utility is just 100. So take some units of uh, if you take some units of x and some units of y, let's say you take 2 units of x from uh, individual 2 and 3 units of y from individual 2 and you transfer to individual 1. So individual 1 now has 2 units of x and 3 units of y. 6 is total 58 units. And but now individual 2 has 8 units of x and 7 units of y. So individual 2's utility will be 8 into 7, which is 56, which is obviously less than 100. Individual 2 is more soft now. So all these points, when we connect all these points, this is somewhere from here maybe, and and with the same argument, this is also Pareto-optimal allocation. So all this total set, this whole curve is the contract curve, and it is the set of all Pareto-optimum allocations. So yeah, so let's keep it till there for today, and we'll make the next day with uh, another topic.